President's latest plan for Obamacare to let it fail. But Senate Republicans are moving forward with a plan to repeal Obamacare without a replacement. What does this mean on the state level? How are governors responding to everything that's transpired? Joining us to discuss is the Republican governor of Arkansas, Asa Hutchinson. Good morning, Governor.
Hey, good morning. Great to be with you.
Great to have you. From where you sit, how do you think Congress and the White House botched this so badly?
Well, that's hard to say. That's a little bit of a process question, but we've been pushing that they listen to the governors because we've got the greatest level of experience in actually what's happening in our states. We've encouraged them for a number of months to make some changes in the Senate bill. Many of them were adopted, but in the end, it was hard to bring people together. The message that I have is they need to continue their path of reform, though, and not give up.
Let's talk about that, because it seems as though certainly the president is ready to wash his hands of this. It seems as though he's reached a dead end. Let me play for you what President Trump said about this yesterday.
But we'll just let Obamacare fail. We're not going to own it. I'm not going to own it. I can tell you the Republicans are not going to own it.
Is that the answer, Governor? Wash his hands of it and let Obamacare do whatever Obamacare is going to do and walk away?
The people always hold political leaders accountable. And so we have a responsibility when we see problems to address them. When we see a system that's not working well, that's not affordable, they expect us to do something about it. It's hard for them to understand the complexities, the vote, why people can't come together on this. But you got to figure out a way to do it. And so it's not sufficient to say we're going to wash our hands of this. We've got to engage in it. And we're going to continue in Arkansas that path of reform we're already started on, because it's a cost to the states as well. And we don't want to make the Medicaid expansion portion an entitlement program. We want to reform it into a means and a safety net to help people move up the economic ladder.
Yeah, look, I know that you're looking for a work requirement for Medicaid, but back to the president. What would you say to the president? I mean, if you think that it's not satisfactory to let it fail and to leave people on the hook, why is the president using that tactic?
Well, I think he's trying to drive the message that he's frustrated that Senate was not able to come together on this, but I'll let him speak to that. More importantly, it's the Senate, and this is where I hope they do not give up, that they might have to let the dust settle here. But, you know, if there's 10 things that we want to do and you can bring 4 things to accomplish and reach consensus on it, let's go for those 4 things to fix what we have. Because right now we've got a cost problem for the federal government. We've got an access of insurance availability in multiple states.
Yeah.
So you just can't let this continue. You've got to work together, and I am hopeful that they will do that.
So you want to see them fix Obamacare rather than the vote they're having early next week to repeal it?
Well, I've always advocated that you need to repeal it because it's a bad system. Let's start over. But if you can't get anything done, then obviously you've got to reform it, because it's too costly. Again, there's not enough access. And so whatever you've got to do to set up a process that you can get the votes to change the status quo, that's what governing is about. I applaud our senators that have worked hard for good changes, but it fell apart on the left and the right. Hopefully they'll get back to the table and not give up. Just like in Arkansas, we're going to continue to work on this. Many of the states, if you don't do anything, the states will continue to ask for waivers on the exchange, waivers from the federal government to innovate in the states. And that's okay, but there's a better solution to have a national fix. Yeah. And that's what Congress obviously needs to address, while we continue to look at the states by state as to what works for our citizens.
Right, but just so I understand, you would be in favor of the vote early next week repealing it with no plan in place?
No, I've always said you need to have a direction as to where we're going. I want to be able to know we don't need to create more uncertainty. Now, if they do a vote next week to repeal it, that's a good thing, as long as there's a path to get to a replacement that people have confidence in. Right now, I've said that we shouldn't go anywhere without a replacement plan because there's too much uncertainty in our health care system, and we've got to create some certainty and confidence where we're going.
Okay, understood. Governor Asa Hutchinson, thank you very much for your perspective. You are obviously on the front lines, as are all of the governors. Thanks so much for being here.